A simple gallon of milk can reveal a lot about grocery costs in different parts of the world. In the United States, as of May 2025, the average price for a gallon of whole milk hovers around $3.80. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic in countries like France and Germany, consumers are paying significantly less for the same product. A gallon of milk in these European nations typically costs between $2.50 and $3. This price discrepancy for a staple grocery item like milk really exemplifies a broader trend. Groceries tend to be cheaper in Europe than in the United States. Understanding why this is the case requires a closer look at various economic and logistical factors. While the price difference might seem small at first glance, it adds up over time, especially for families and individuals on a budget. The reasons behind this price gap are complex and multifaceted, involving government policies, agricultural practices, healthcare systems, and supply chain structures. By examining these factors in detail, we can gain a clearer understanding of why European shoppers often enjoy lower prices at the checkout counter. Let's compare the cost of a typical grocery basket in two major cities, New York City and Berlin. A loaf of bread in New York City might set you back $3.50, while in Berlin a similar loaf could cost around $2. A dozen eggs in New York City could average $4 compared to roughly $2.50 in Berlin. These price differences extend to a wide range of products, from meat and poultry to fruits and vegetables. A pound of boneless, skinless chicken breast in New York City might cost $6, while in Berlin it could be purchased for around $4. Similarly, a pound of apples in New York City could average $2.50 compared to $1.50 in Berlin. These examples demonstrate that the price discrepancies observed for milk are not isolated incidents, but rather indicative of a broader trend of lower grocery prices in many European cities. The cost of living in major European cities is generally lower than in their American counterparts, and this difference is particularly noticeable in grocery prices. While factors like wages and housing costs also play a role, the affordability of food in Europe contributes significantly to the overall lower cost of living. One significant factor influencing grocery prices is the value-added tax, or VAT. The VAT is a consumption tax levied on goods and services at each stage of production and distribution. In the United States, there is no federal sales tax on groceries, though some states do impose their own sales taxes. However, in Europe, most countries apply a reduced VAT rate to food items. This reduced rate is typically much lower than the standard VAT rate applied to other goods and services. For example, in Germany the standard VAT rate is 19%, but the reduced rate for most food items is only 7%. This means that consumers in Germany pay significantly less VAT on their groceries compared to what they would pay on other items subject to the standard rate. This lower VAT rate is a deliberate policy decision by European governments to make food more affordable for their citizens. By keeping VAT rates on food low, European countries ensure that essential groceries remain accessible to people of all income levels, contributing to a higher overall standard of living. Government subsidies to farmers also play a role in keeping European food prices down. The European Union's Common Agricultural Policy, often called CAP, provides substantial financial support to farmers, helping them to produce food at lower costs. These subsidies help ensure a stable and affordable food supply within the EU. While the United States also provides subsidies to its farmers, the scale and scope of the EU's CAP are significantly larger. Another factor indirectly related to food prices is the presence of universal healthcare systems in many European countries. With healthcare costs largely covered by the government, European employers, including those in the food and retail industries, face lower healthcare expenses compared to their American counterparts. This difference in healthcare costs can translate into lower prices for consumers, as businesses can pass on some of their savings. The combination of government subsidies to farmers and publicly funded healthcare systems creates a more favorable environment for food production and distribution in Europe, ultimately contributing to lower prices for consumers. The geography of Europe also plays a role in its lower grocery prices. European countries are relatively small and located close together, which translates into shorter transportation distances for food products. This means lower transportation costs for producers and retailers, which can be passed on to consumers in the form of lower prices. In contrast, the United States is a vast country with longer distances between food production centers and major population centers. Furthermore, The widespread presence of discount supermarkets in Europe helps to keep grocery prices competitive. Chains like Aldi and Lidl, which originated in Germany, have gained significant market share across Europe by offering a limited selection of private label products at very low prices. These discounters put pressure on traditional supermarkets to lower their prices, benefiting consumers in the process. The combination of shorter transportation distances and the prevalence of discount supermarkets creates a more efficient food distribution system in Europe, contributing to lower prices for consumers. The European Union has strong competition laws in place that prevent monopolies and encourage fair competition in the grocery market. These laws prevent large supermarket chains from engaging in practices that could stifle competition and drive up prices. The EU also has regulations in place governing pricing practices, such as minimum price rules, which prevent retailers from selling products below cost. While these rules are intended to protect smaller retailers, they can sometimes result in slightly higher prices for consumers. However, the overall impact of EU competition laws and market regulations is to create a more level playing field for businesses and to ensure that consumers benefit from fair and competitive prices. By promoting competition and preventing unfair pricing practices, the EU ensures that consumers have access to a wider range of products at reasonable prices. In conclusion, the lower grocery prices often observed in Europe compared to the United States are the result of a complex interplay of factors. Lower VAT rates on food, government subsidies to farmers, and the indirect impact of public healthcare systems all contribute to lower production and distribution costs. The efficiency of European supply chains, characterized by shorter transportation distances and the prevalence of discount supermarkets, further reduces prices for consumers. Finally, EU competition laws and market regulations ensure fair competition and prevent excessive markups, ultimately benefiting consumers. While individual factors play a role, it is the combined effect of these elements that creates the favorable pricing environment experienced by European grocery shoppers. Understanding these factors can provide valuable insights for policymakers and consumers alike as they navigate the complexities of food prices and affordability in a globalized world.